Never leave a man behind. That's the message from Chalmers, former Strictly star and Invictus Games medalist, who wants employers to adopt a military-style working mentality to help employees with long-term illnesses. In 2011, he was injured in a bomb blast in Afghanistan while serving as a Royal Marine, which changed his life and career forever. Partnering with the insurance company Zurich on its rehabilitation campaign, JJ believes adapting the workplace will help those who are suffering get back to work. I spoke with JJ, who shared with me his journey in the hope of helping others on theirs.
You know, I partnered up with Zurich on this campaign because I have lived through and continue to live through the realities of living with a disability, a long-term injury, and, you know, I was wounded back in 2011 in Afghanistan whilst I was serving in the Royal Marines. I wasn't medically discharged from the Marines until 2016. So it was a 5-year recovery. And, you know, since that time, I have been in and out of hospital periodically because I live with the realities of a disability. And so that does impact my work life, and ultimately, you know, I'm sure like yourself, my work life is a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of my identity. It's something that I loved my previous career as a Royal Marine. Now as a broadcaster, you know, I love it for the same and a whole bunch of new reasons. And so when I'm sort of denied the ability to do it because of my physical circumstances, perhaps my mental circumstances, because of the mental health struggles I have, you know, I lose a little part of myself, and that's what I go through, and so many people go through. But I am extremely fortunate, and have been, that I've had an amazing support network, you know, primarily through the armed forces when I was in service. But not everybody has that. Not everybody has the rehabilitation services that I was fortunate enough to have. And so people find themselves either not returning to work, or perhaps returning to work at the wrong time, or returning to work without the right support. And ultimately, that has an additional detrimental effect on top of it.
What I really am interested in is your personal story. You've mentioned what happened to you in 2011. Let's just go into that for our viewers. What happened? And you said that process of recovery took 5 years without too much support. Can you go into that in some detail for us?
Well, I was serving in Afghanistan in the summer of 2011. I was a Royal Marine Commando, and I was part of a team that was searching a bomb-making factory. And unfortunately, one of these type of devices, what we call an improvised explosive device, sometimes called a roadside bomb, was triggered. And it hurt a lot of people that day, and I was one of them. I mean, my injuries were extremely traumatic, and they were very extensive, you know, really from head to toe. And ultimately has left me with a disability, and I struggle with all sorts of day-to-day functions because of my upper limb impairment, because of the pain that I live with, because of the fact that I'm a very fragile individual now, because my body's kind of barely held together. But that journey started in 2011, and my recovery was 5 years, and it was 2 to 3 surgeries a year, and it was months and months of rehab following that surgeries, and it was extensive, and it was also a leaving behind of one career and a finding a new one as well. And so there was a transition. So what I'm saying is there was a physical element to it, there was a mental element to it as well, because of the unbelievable sort of psychological trauma that I had to sort of live through, and the struggles that I faced on a day-to-day basis. And there's a social element to it as well. You know, the structures of your life change significantly, and employment plays a really big part in that. You know, there's a big part in what your identity is. And I lost my identity of being a Royal Marine before, and I'm really lucky to have found a new identity, and to have brought some of that, you know, with me as well. You know, my time in the Royal Marines still stays with me today. But I was extremely well supported because I was part of a large organisation. I was part of the armed forces that values looking after its people, not least because it values its people, but because it knows that if it can get the best rehabilitation outcome for the individual, they can hopefully keep them in service. They can hopefully retain that person and the skills and the experience and the, you know, all of the knowledge that they have. In my circumstance, unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but they did everything they could to ensure that, you know, what it was I went on to do with the rest of my life, they can ensure the best outcome as well. So my point is, if you look after your people, that they in turn can look after you.
That's JJ Chalmers there, tackling long-term sickness in the workplace. You're watching